Hello, welcome back to Bald and Board Games. I'm Bald.
I'm bored.
We're going to give you a review of Farms Race by Medium Brow Games.
Yes.
Keep check before we start. I always forget.
Farms Race is one of the games we've just completed in our month of June, which is our animal month.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that playthrough, please go check it out. It's already here on YouTube. We went through, we played 2 full games. So you'll be able to see both games. Did them both a little differently, but still went over pretty well.
Yeah.
One of the games, not really the second.
I mean, you say that because you lost.
Get obliterated. But yeah, we're here for a review, so we're going to go Bald and Board Game style, go through the 5 categories we normally do, and let you know if you should or should not play this game.
Yes. Those 5 categories, if you haven't watched one of our reviews beforehand, are going to cover storage, the rule book, the components, which is what everything is made out of, the design, which is what everything looks like, and the gameplay. We will each individually give a score for each of those 5 categories. Then we will get an overall score for each of us. And then we will give you the final Bald and Board Game official score for each of those categories and the final score, which is ultimately going to be an average of both of our individual ones. We do it this way to make sure that the review is not skewed one way or the other based on our own individual biases. So if you enjoy one thing a lot but I don't, it ends up falling right in the middle.
Which happens a lot, usually.
Yeah. Okay. So starting off, we have Staragie.
Yeah, so the storage here for Farms Race is this box with 4 sections. As you can kind of see, let's do one quick zoomed out view. You have a bunch of tiles, you have a bunch of cards, you have these player boards with individual sets of player pieces here based on which character you are. And you have a few other cards and tokens and things.
And this is actually the deluxe box as well
Oh.
from the upgraded things. Like it came with these 2, and then I think it's slightly bigger for it all. But other than that, it's essentially the same.
Okay. So for me, with storage, so all of these cards, they're good cardboard. We'll talk about that later. They are very tight into this section. So you really, it really takes like getting your finger down in there.
Are we putting these in wrong though? Can we set these sideways and will they?
Oh, that's a good question.
This
is a user error.
That might be an us thing. Honestly.
Is this user error?
Oh yeah, because they're flush.
No, we still have more to fit in though.
Well, if we got those in, we'll find it right now.
I think it's too tall. Is it? Oh no. Okay.
Nope, it's definitely.
Okay, so it's an us thing.
It's
okay.
us. It's an us thing. But.
So let me fix my my statement.
Sorry, we didn't realize.
I'll just block that out of the video.
It's fine. We can keep it in.
That's fine. Okay. So for storage, now that this is right, my score is still gonna be the same.
Yeah.
So they give you plastic bags for all of your player pieces. You have a bunch of little tokens for your player class. They give you these boxes for different card sets. So it does keep all the cards together that go together. The one thing I don't like is this box here is about half, maybe slightly over halfway full of cards only. I think we have all of the content in this game. There is not enough cards to fill that box. So the cards do kind of bounce around a little bit.
Yeah.
The spy cards, same thing. There's a little bit extra room in that box. My big thing is all of these just kind of get stuffed in here. There's no real nice way to put these in. Mm-hmm. There's a game we played recently where there was 2 or 4 nice stacks for everything. But that was a custom game box.
Yep.
So the fact that they didn't take that little bit extra effort to make these hexagonal tiles fit nicely, and the fact that everything else is just in bags everywhere, I'm going to give storage a dead 3. Everything does fit. They did
dead 3, not even just 3, a dead 3.
Everything fits. They did take a little bit of extra effort to make the boxes and the little cross section, but nothing better than average.
Yeah. So I agree with everything that you said. This user error could not be user error. I mean, it fits going flat. Yeah, better than it does like this. This just makes it easier to take out of there. But ultimately, this is one of those boxes where it's just stuff and things. It's stuff in things. Like, I hate having to store things in these bags. Like, this box could have easily been made where there was at least a well for each of these, where you specifically would put them, where you could have their individual card go on top of it to make sure that things don't fall out. So there's definitely way more creative ways they could have made this box. Clearly they're going for the cheap option. The deluxe, the reason why I mentioned it was deluxe is because really all the deluxe came with other components were these tuck boxes, which after a while, especially if this was board doing this, these are going to tear. And yeah, the cards go in here, sure, but they don't fill up the whole thing, like you said. Like, it doesn't need to be this big per se. And then yeah, just kind of chills in there. Not even like in a nicer way. This could be up and it says Farms Race. Then everything else is kind of in their well, in their bags, in their well. Things are going to get dinged up eventually. It's just kind of super annoying. So I gave this a 3.5 purely because they did take the time to make it a little bit bigger, to give us some of this to help store things in as well, which is this nicer bag to put dice in, which isn't even needed.
Because the dice
like you don't need a dice bag. Like, ridiculous. Mainly I give it the extra 0.5 because they gave us these to store the cards, which keeps the cards nicer and separated.
All right, second category is the rulebook. So our rulebook score is the physical rulebook itself, any player aids and reference guides and expansion content telling us how to play the game and what to do.
Yeah, alrighty. So rulebook here, fun artwork, of course, and it is very to the point. Actually, I need to adjust one thing on here. Sorry, because I just remembered something. Okay. So very to the point. Diagrams are there and very clear in regard to, especially like how fighting goes down. We did mess it up in our playthrough. That was an us problem, not a rulebook problem. It does say very clearly in here how to do that properly. And that was just the first time playing. So went through this once and knew how to play. I don't think we ever really had to go back to this except for a couple minor things where I thought I was getting points for each nuke that I had, and not just having the nukiest. I like that they give you different layout maps and stuff for playing. They explain the mutations, which is great. The spies in the back, they give you some clarification. For the deluxe content, they do have like a little page opener here for if you're playing with 5 players, more of that, going over all the deluxe items. They do have a nice quick reference here, which I don't think we really needed that much. I think you had it by you for most of the time, but it's probably mostly to look at this. Yeah.
No, I think we didn't
really use it at all. But when it comes to player aids, you can go to my board here. This here, and again, this is an additional mat that was purchased. You don't typically have this mat with the regular game, but I am going to give them points for doing this on their mat, as they have a player aid right here also. But if you don't have the mat, on the back of your character card is that same player aid, which is a smart use of the back of this, because you don't need to see that you're cows the whole time. So having this flipped over, if you don't have the mat, has the same info here, which, again, tells you everything very, very clearly when you can build everything like that. The part that I had to adjust, that I just remembered that I had to ding this for, the game can play for 2 to 4 players. Does not tell you how to play with 2 players. It gives you a bunch, 5 now with the expansion, but it tells you to play with 5. It gives you a bunch of maps for 3 and 4 players. Says nothing about 2 players. Doesn't say, there was a variant section over here. Variants, easy mode, no mutations, open trading, stealing. Doesn't tell you about a 2-player variant. This whole entire rulebook is as if you're playing with at least 3 players the entire time. So what we ended up having to do, like, okay, we're going to play with 2 players. I guess we should be playing with 2 characters each then to make this feel interesting, because just 2 characters across the board, it would take so long for either of us to actually get in contact and be able to attack each other. Something that we saw with Pillars of Heracles when we were playing that. It's the same situation. So it says nowhere in there how to play with 2 players, but you can do so with 2. So we played the best way we assumed that it would. So the rulebook, because of that one missing piece, gets a 4.5 from me, because it goes over everything else great. You're most likely going to play this with more than 2 players most of the time. That does seem like that'd be the most fun. So I didn't knock it too hard for the missing context there. So yeah, 4.5.
So I agree with a lot of the same stuff. So yeah, number one, we'll just repeat what you just said. The fact that 2 players is not even just not described, but not even mentioned. So like literally in step 8 here, starting the game, it says to make up for taking their turns later, the 3rd and 4th player get resources. In a 3-player game, the 3rd player receives 1 resource. I literally think the typo is on the box.
It does say here.
I think that's the typo.
Well, no, this is the reprinted deluxe box. The original one says 2 to 4. When they read this one, it still says 2 to 5. So clearly, it's meant to be able to be played with 2 players.
So they just messed up completely. Yeah. So to me, that's a big miss because we did not know how to set up the map because the map examples are 3, 4, and 5 player.
Yep.
We did our own version of it. It worked out for our playthrough.
Essentially played as a 4-player game.
Yeah. My other gripe, so this I'm going to consider as part of the rulebook. Yep. So quick reference guide and FAQ. FAQ, throw in the rulebook. Don't need that on a separate piece of paper.
No.
Quick reference guide, on the back of our player thing, it says here, turn order, which matches that. It says building costs, buildings, and it kind of gives some of the same stuff. Actually, not fully, but a little bit of some of the same concept. This, to me, is way too big of a thing. They should just make this, you really need to understand combat? Just make combat on a small thing about this sized that players could have next to them.
Yeah.
They only give you 1 of these in the whole game box, so it's not like we each have one to reference.
Makes sense.
I wish that if you just give me a second one of these with combat on one side, VP on the other. Everything else you don't need. I don't need quick reference for starting the game. I have a setup page in the book. Once you've set up the game, you've started the game. So I think this is absolutely useless. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm going to dock it a little more because to me when we've seen games recently with useless components and things.
It's true.
Where I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. All right.
Next up is components. So again, components are going to be what everything is made out of, what the cards are made out of, what these are made out of, what this is. These. Not the artwork or the look of them, but the actual feel, the components, the quality of the components themselves. And again, we are judging this based on the deluxe version of Farms Race, not the base. Just a word of note before you go, the base game, all of these are cardboard punch-outs. I believe these are also, they've always had these wooden
Wait, are you ranking only on the base game?
No.
Oh, you were just saying what the difference was.
I'm letting them know. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
We're ranking based on what we played.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, that'd been a huge difference. Okay, got it.
No.
So for me, we'll just kind of bullet point through them. Starting with all these, awesome.
Yep.
They're fun little tokens here. Goes through, matches the type of building, matches your character class. So I have pigs, Nick has cows, there's a bunch of others, they all match. On the game board itself, you have some other ones. Again, they're all cool. They specifically took the time and effort to make them look like what they represent.
Yep.
For these, they're fun little tokens, just like casino chips. They go over, they have the thing. They have the thing. They have the symbology on them that's needed. That's in design anyway. The Nuke ones, same thing. They're a pretty cheap chip, but the benefit, and not going to dock this for that, is you pick one up, you put it on your board, and it's there. You're not throwing these around like casino chips or anything, so they don't need to be super expensive quality in acrylic or whatnot.
Yep.
The tiles, simple cardboard tiles, but again, the benefit is once you've laid out the map, they're there. You're not moving tiles. You're not building a dungeon here. So yes, it will get annoying as you're building. You're going to bounce up against the corners a little bit, but once it's built, it's kind of there. The cards, compared to some of our other videos, are a little bit thicker, which is nice, but again, they're still the basic, not matte finished cards with the nice matte linen. The spy deck here, you take the card, you have it. The other cards, you're grabbing back and forth all game. You're grabbing them, you're using them, you're trading them in. So the more times you're touching cards, the better quality those cards should be. The brick one I can see is already bowing, the top brick card right there.
This one has a little bit in the corner.
Yeah. So that always bothers me. The dice, super nice dice. They have specialty symbols on the different sides. I wish they did something else for the blank just to make it a little bit more fun on what that was. Just but whatever, because our game did that. I was kind of thinking of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everything else looks good. So because, again, they took that extra effort to make the components here good and matching what all of the classes are, the animal groupings, I'm going to give components a 4.
Okay. I agree. I like mostly everything. The deluxe upgrades for all these chips, these little fire, tokens when things are going crazy.
Turmoil, yeah.
Turmoil. These are great. Very simple plastic. That's all they need to be. These as well don't need to be anything overly special to just kind of lay out and have there as a board. Then all the wooden pieces are great too. And then my docking comes down to the cards also. Again, this is predominantly a card game where you're going to be using these cards often. So yes, they're thicker, so that makes them feel not as flimsy, but not having that linen finish means they don't really bounce back as much. So that spy deck is going to get ruined real fast because every time you go to play that game, you're going to be shuffling that deck. Bridging it, shuffling it. The corners are going to get dinged. It's going to get slightly bent. All that. These being handled so much are going to get dinged. There's actually, which I noticed when we were playing, and it must be from the deluxe portion of the game, but these cards aren't all cut evenly.
Interesting.
So when you feel them, they're not even. So some are bigger than some of the other ones. So again, that effort wasn't really put there to make sure that everything was pristine and equal size. Your character cards, all these are the same as this, very sturdy, which is great. So it actually got a 4 for me as well. That 1 point knockoff is really for the crappy cards.
Yep. All right. Can I have one of each of those too?
The cards?
Yeah. So next category up is design. So now actually going through, looking at the artwork on all of the cards, the tiles, the game player board here, and everything else.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the design, actually, second guessing my font design there. All right. So design wise, most of this is a lot of fun. So design wise for these people tokens, their numbers on one side, simple. But I enjoy that mystery aspect of it. For the characters, when you take damage, you flip it over. Little damage side. Great, again, simple design. Sometimes simple is the best, not overly complicated. The dice, there's the resources that we're looking to snag. Again, a great variation on the Catan style game without having to have the extra tokens for a number in the middle of every single slot. It's like, no, instead, roll this. Those are the things being collected. You roll 2, you're collecting 2 if you have people there. The attack dice as well. Jesus, why can't I roll that game? Holy crap. But having the human head, the gun, and the blank, the blank would have been nice to have an icon there for the miss of some kind, or even just say miss, in some sort of way. Would have been nice, but not a huge issue for me. I think where this game really shines is in the design of all of these mutations and stuff in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay. In front of, so all these different mutations have a different artwork to them that are super fun, super weird, very creative. The characters as well, like this overly confident maverick cow leaning on a missile. Even though I don't like the cards, how they feel, I like the cartoony aspect of the design of the cards. I think that is a lot of fun. What I don't particularly enjoy when it comes to the design are these tiles. These tiles are incredibly boring. Mm-hmm. We played a game called Oddland by Allplay, where, similar, you have a bunch of square cards that have it has a quadrant on there with a bunch of different habitats, essentially, regions, like this does. But they went above and beyond and added nuance to each of those interests. There's something different on each of those square tile, even though it's the same sort of thing. Like, they could have done this very easily where each reactor had something going on. Maybe one was getting ready to explode. Like, I don't know, anything different to make it more visually interesting. Because this board is boring to look at. Like, incredibly so. And that's what you're playing on the entire time. And while it's not the main focus of the game entirely, it could have done so much more just with the artwork. Another good example is Suburbia. Again, like hex tiles you're putting down as you play the game, but they're all slightly different as you put them down. They're just more interesting. So that definitely got docked a point for me. So my final score for design, I forgot to just change it again, is a 4 for the design. I actually raised that from what I was going to have it beforehand because I really like what they did with the creative artwork for the mutations, even the spy cards.
Yeah.
Like the spy cards and stuff is a lot of fun. Like, again, simple, but very creative. Hacking. Just like hacking into a computer with an axe. Like, just very random and Acme style cartoony, like Looney Tunes back in the day. So, it got the 4.
Okay. So for me, there's a bunch of stuff I agree with. So, start with the player board. Definitely agree with the mutations and your character. I have like an evil army sergeant as a pig, smoking a cigar. So I have a Winston Churchill over here.
Yep.
And then adorable.
Give yourself adorable again.
I
Nice.
randomly grabbed because I had a pig on it.
Oh, hilarious.
And the fun mutations. Love the artwork. Very creative. The card artwork, I do agree, like the spy cards, it is that Acme cartoonish, which kind of works in the vibe of the game. These to me are a little boring. I don't know if I want this on my design score or gameplay score. I'm going to put my design score because this kind of matters. No, design's just how it looks.
Yeah, design's
I'm
not.
going to put in
what
game.
they're
Okay, I'll
used
put this
for.
in gameplay. So cards, they look fine. They match the wheat makes it looks like wheat. Wood looks like wood. Cool. Dice are great. The main thing, as Nick pointed out, is this board. And I'm going to call it 2 design pieces of this board. Number 1 is, if I'm looking at the design of a game board, if I'm going to a tile, so if my pig is going to this tile, I want to be able to look at that tile and know what to do instantly. These tiles do not have the symbol matching for the cards that they go with. It would not be that hard to have a little box in the corner of each of these that match the symbol to say, oh, if I'm here on the reactor, I'm going to get plutonium.
Yeah, we got these two confused a couple times in the beginning.
Yeah.
The weapons
So, like,
and plutonium.
here, it's like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense that this is brick because it's the color match of red to red. But easily you could have a picture of bricks. Or put the big bad wolf there. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that got annoying in the gameplay where it's like, okay, after a while you figure it out, but it's like you could easily just put the symbol on here to say this is the resource you're getting. A vast majority of games where you gain resource on a tile, that resource is on that tile.
Just put a little one in each of these corners.
Yeah. So that was a big dock to me. But to your point, yeah, the design of all of the other cards are creative. The spy cards and how they look, the mutations, the character cards. I'm going to give this overall a 3.5, though. I think there's a lot of room for improvement that they could have done better.
Alright. Okay, so lastly is the gameplay.
Yes, so...
Which is how the game played.
how I played the game.
Well, don't judge it based on the last time.
Yeah. So gameplay. Again, the quick overview is you have your starting location tile. You are taking your characters, in my case, I'm pigs. You are going into other areas, attacking to take over that area from the humans by rolling dice. You roll for 1, your opponent rolls for the humans. If you get gun symbol or head symbol, you decrease the humans. The one thing that was annoying here...
Cease the humans.
The one thing that was annoying here is this is a 2. If I took out one of these, there's 1 human left. There was no extra supply guaranteed for 1s.
Yeah.
So that was a big hit where, like, multiple times we're like, oh, we have 1 left. Let's put it upside down specifically in this way to indicate that's a 1. Where they should have just done something at least to give you guaranteed extra supply so you could fill that in to count it down.
Just have more ones.
Or just have more ones, exactly.
Yeah, like they had less than half the number of ones that there were to twos. Like just
That's true. The other thing you do is gain resources. So each tile corresponds, again, to a type of one of these 5 resources. And as you gain resources, you could use those to build things, to build more barns, to build armories, to build nukes, to gain spy cards. One thing that didn't make sense, tree and wheat. Why does tree and wheat equal spy? Don't know. That just doesn't make sense. Weapon should have been involved in a spy or something. I don't know. That didn't impact my rating. It's just annoying. What's really annoying here is
it's because they used weapon, plutonium, and brick to make the
nukes as the other 2,
and so they used the other 2.
Yeah. So
it was a balancing thing.
Yeah.
More than anything.
So for me, my main thing looking at this game, I'm like, okay, what are the resources doing for me? In this case, you're laying on a tile, you gain the equivalent card or cards, and then you spend them to build these things. It was annoying holding a deck of all of these cards. I 100% would have preferred having 5 sets of cubes. Or better than cubes, would be nice to have like little tokens that match these symbols instead of decks of cards. Because it just became a pile of cards off to the side of my game board, and now I have to go through and look through all of them. Where you could just have like a little repository, if you extended this a little bit, to put all your cubes or tokens in, to indicate what supplies you have. Again, you're going through them so fast, we already talked about the card quality's not good. That would take away that, because you just have tokens for everything. So to me, like, it just doesn't make sense to use cards. The gameplay itself and how it operated, I'm going to act as if I played a 4-player game, because we don't really know how to play a 2-player game. It's a lot of fun. You have the strategy aspect of, do I just go attacking everybody and try to earn victory points that way? Do I try to go for spy cards and kind of play a defensive game? Do I just try to build out my buildings and just like easily move tile by tile or slowly move tile by tile? So I do like that little bit of variety. The randomness aspect doesn't really apply to like, oh, you're not going to get 4 wheats in a middle because they give you game maps to avoid that, which is nice. So they did think about that slightly to be like, let's not randomly shuffle these out, and then you have one player in the corner with all of the plutonium. So overall, I enjoyed it. I definitely would go back and play again with 3 or 4 players, preferably.
Yeah.
I would give this gameplay a 3.5. Again, a big docking. It's a rulebook problem, but it's also a gameplay problem where I don't even think 2 players would make sense. Just looking at how we played, it just wouldn't even make sense to play with just 2 players.
Yeah. How's that for you? Math. All right. So, gameplay-wise, I like the concept a lot. I like taking what is fun about Catan, right? And collecting resources to build buildings and do things. I think that is a fun baseline to start with.
Get stuff, do things.
Get stuff, do things. Making it a war game was a lot of fun on top of that. So it adds a strategic element now more so than just building roads and buildings to try and get points. Now it's, okay, I need to get my herds onto specific tiles strategically to collect resources so then I can build and make them stronger. That is such a fun idea. And then the added portion of, hey, each of these tiles have humans on them. And you don't know how many humans are there. 2, another 2, always 2, maybe 2. So there could be 3, 3s or 1s as well. So 1, 2, or 3, you never really know. So you have to really judge, okay, do I move 1 person in and then end up as 1v2? Could potentially take him out in 2 hits, but could also take me out in 2 hits. Or
you can't hit him twice.
No, these ones you can attack over and over again. It's each other we can't.
That's right.
Or do I move 2 in and even the playing field a little bit, or do I just say, you know what, I'm gonna move 3 in just to be safe, and that's usually when you get a 1, and you kill the water. But it was still fun. That not knowing aspect was great. I think the other thing that added a lot to this game that was a lot of fun is the mutation aspect of it. It creates this random kind of set of potential in the game that has a lot of fun. So like I had one where every person I killed allowed me to attack adjacent spaces with that person count, essentially. You with Adorable allowed you to mutate your bunny rabbits constantly throughout the field without having to attack humans, and just allowed you to get so spread out to get resources. With that being said, I think there are some things that are a little bit broken in this game. Resources are great, but you do end up collecting a crap ton later on, depending on how you position yourself. If you set up on wood and wheat and you just constantly farm the spy cards, that helps you a lot. The fact that there's no limit to how many spy cards you can hold, I think is a problem. I think you should be limited to a hand of
like 12.
Of 3. Of 3 spy cards. You can have 3 spy cards at one time. That means you can have 3 of the 4 VP spy cards, potentially, and then you just sit and hold on to those. But while you're holding on to those, everyone else is wondering, crap, what does he have? When is he going to use them? So the spy cards are a good thing, but the limited hand size is a bad thing. Did not like that. I don't think cards are a problem here because you do have a hand limit on the amount of cards you can hold at the end of your turn. You have to get rid of them down to 7. It's just so easy to collect resources on other people's turns because of these dice being rolled.
Yeah.
I think instead of rolling 2 dice, just rolling 1 may have helped even that out a little bit.
Or it's like I roll 2 dice and get both. You get to pick one of the 2 dice, you get that. So it's like the half resource thing.
Exactly. That would have been
because it was OP for you. Where like I roll and I'm like, oh, I rolled 2 places I'm not at.
Yep.
But you're at both of them with 2 of both of them, so you're getting 4 resources. And
also,
on my turn.
And that's another thing is I don't think that you should get a resource per hex you're on. I think you just get a resource if you're on that hex.
Yeah.
And that's it. The only time you get multiple resources is if you roll multiple symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that are broken, I think, in the game, but it's broken for everybody, which keeps it a little bit level, which keeps it fun. Didn't feel overly skewed one way or the other. It always felt like you kind of had a fighting chance in some regard. I like that it's game end if you last surviving, obviously, or if you get to a certain amount of VP first. I do enjoy that aspect of it. So my final score for gameplay is 4 for all those reasons. Definitely not perfect. Definitely a lot of things that could be improved on, but it still is a lot of fun. I think it would definitely be more fun playing with at least 3 people. I think this is definitely a game that should not be for 2 players. It should be 3 and up based on what this game is and how it plays, which clearly was the intention.
Yeah.
Based on the rule book.
Yeah, so now, as usual in our review videos, we'll go through each category again, give a quick bullet point on them, give the overall Bald and Board Games combined score, and then give you that final score to let you know if a Farms Race is a must-play or a don't-play, according to Bald and Board Games.
All right. For storage, I gave it a 3.5. Bald gave it a 3, which means Bald and Board Games give it a 3 for storage. Average storage. Not anything special, not anything terrible. It does what it has to do, but that's about it.
Yep. For Rulebook, Bald gave it a 4.5. Thought it was near perfect other than that 2-player mishap. I docked it a little bit more, gave it a 4 because of that useless quick reference guide. Therefore, Bald and Board Games has, if you don't reach that 0.5 mark for both of us, it takes the lower one. So 4 and 4.5 stays at a 4.
Then we have components. I gave it a 4. Board gave it a 4, which means the Bald and Board Game final score is a 4.
For design, Board gave it a 4. Nope. You're bald.
Man.
Ball gave it a 4. Board, me, gave it a 3.5. Wasn't a fan of the design of a lot of the parts. Therefore, it holds at a 3.5.
And for crap. What did you say? Design? We're on the gameplay now? Jesus Christ. Storage, rulebook, ID components, you just said design. We're on gameplay. My lord. I'm still thinking about us both pressing a ball board. For gameplay, I gave it a 4. You gave it a 3.5, which means Bald and Board Games gives gameplay a 3.5.
All right, and then finally, we total all 5 of those categories individually to get my score, to get Bald's score, and then combine those to get the Bald and Board Game score. So individually, all 5 categories, every time I do this.
Corduroys.
All 5 categories averaged out on that scale of 5. I give Farms Race a total of a 3.5.
And out of all of my categories, I give Farms Race a 4. Which means the Bald and Board Games final score is a 3.5 out of 5. Which does mean that we consider Farms Race
a certified Bald and Board Games must play.
Yes, it is a lot of fun. There's the gripes we have with it, the look of it, the issue with the components. It did do a deluxe upgrade for a lot of it. I think they could have done more with certain things for sure. But I think the important thing with any game is that it is a lot of fun to play. And it's easy to learn, quick to get to the table. I think, this would be one where you get to the table with friends who just want to play something Catan-ish but different, or want to play something new. Like, you know what? Let's jump in and let's have mutated animals fight it out.
Yeah. So if you've played Farms Race, let us know your scores. If you agree with our rankings in the 5 categories. If you've never played Farms Race and you're interested in something of this nature, again, take a look at our playthrough and throughout this video, and give it a go. Again, it is a fun game. We'll definitely have to try with 3 or 4 players, see if it runs better. And yeah.
And yeah.
It is what it is.
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching our review of Farms Race by Medium Brow Games. This was Bald and Board Games. I'm Bald.
On board.
We'll see you on the farm.